Okay, background in the Philippine reforms is it started basically in 1999. Civil society basically rallied support, as you all know, but there is a feedback mechanism. There is very little, I would say, in the culture of the Philippines to value feedback and reports. No, so we would like to upgrade that. How we all started, I mean, Philippine Procurement Network is a loose coalition, or it's a loose procurement network, no, for civil society. How we started is basically from the Open Doors 2009 in Hong Kong. So the few civil society organizations present there, developed their country action plan, and when we came back, we sort of like, invited a broader stakeholder group to actually validate and actually add on what we had developed then. We are now including the private sector, which in the form of the Makati Business Club, as part of the Philippine Procurement Network, or what we call the P2N. Composition now is that the steering committee is composed of the Ateneo School of Government, ANSA-EAP for Check My School. Don is actually sitting for ANSA-EAP. Bishops Businessmen Conference, which is faith-based. Concerned Citizens of Abra for Good Government. I'm sorry, there's a typo here. And this is for the Northern Luzon. And then Diaspora for Good Governance, Makati Business Club. Because of the mapping that we had done in last year through the Makati Business Club and Evelio Javier, there were 19 provision networks that were established. 19 out of, I think, 80 provinces. So there's still a long way to go. And 115 organizations, civil society organizations, have pledged to be part of this loose network. Now, we had our strategic planning exercise in the December of 2009, sort of like to form a vision where we want to go. When Procurement Watch started in 2003, we started training left and right. More than 2,000 individuals nationwide. But sad to say, there were not a whole lot of sustained interest, mainly because of the financial aspect to deploy them to the different organizations. What we did was to map the observers and the monitors to see how active they are. And what we've seen so far is that the more that they are localized, we need to say if they're deployed within the communities wherein the procurement occur, that means less, spending for the observers to be fielded in the different agencies and non-agencies. Then another thing that we wanted to bridge was how do we link dynamic civil society to other partners that are, in various locations. The difficulty is, of course, one is financial. Two is that we don't even know who to target in terms of who has this more inclination into these tools or these techniques. ANSA, through the help of ANSA-EAP, is basically providing a venue through the P2N activity in Cebu to sort of like provide them with a menu of the different tools and techniques some of this civil society has in terms of procurement monitoring. You have the CCAGG, who has been, in procurement, road watch or roads or infrastructure monitoring for 25 years. You have the transparency and accountability that's actually acting as the secretary for road watch. And then you have G-Watch and Procurement Watch that are basically in the education sector doing school-based monitoring for infrastructure and school furniture, and a lot more. NAMFREL for medicines count. The challenges are basically, we want to reach out to more CSO groups, but there are just too many. It's just too many, and to maintain that linkage, of communication. So, I mean, like I said, 7,107 islands is no joke. If you're talking about, communicating with those people. Building capacity, of course, of the network partners entail resources, not just the human resources, but also financial resources. And to mobilize people on the ground is also a question of sustainability. But the way forward is to set up regional desks. This is what we're trying to do at P2N. There have been desks established. One is a Northern Luzon desk, which is headed by CCAGG. There's an NCR desk, there's a Southern Luzon desk, there's a Visayas desk, and a Western Mindanao desk. There are about 3 more desks, I think, that we need to fill so that there would be ease in collaboration and communication. And another way forward is basically to establish organizational guidelines by which we can, establish this linkage, communicate, and collaborate, and to manage the growth. For a time, it tended to be very unwieldy, that because so much growth can actually be too overwhelming, and some people may want to go with the spur of the moment, but there should be some sort of like guidelines so that the group will have to move towards the same common vision and roadmap. Creating a training pool to address capacity building needs and to develop sustainability and resource mobilization plan. This has been in the works. With P2N and the Makati Business Club working hand in hand, civil society and Makati Business Club working hand in hand, we're trying to develop a sustainability plan similar to what Marcella had mentioned, like looking into a board, pooling together like a board of resources that could actually help deploy civil society on the ground. Basically that. In 2009, we did this regional assessment, where the procurement reform was headed. The continuing trend, I think, if you will pull up the Transparency International CPI Index for East Asia, you will see that of the 9 countries that we did the mapping, and these are Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Mongolia, Philippines, Papua New Guinea, and Cambodia. 5 out of these 9 countries have actually either maintained or actually improved in their CPI. The Philippines were a noisy bunch. But the thing is, people are beginning to open their minds. The changes would occur every day if we open our minds and our hearts to reform. When the Muslim Mindanao ARMM, when I said to them, just, open the PhilJEPS portal and see if the prices are actually lower than what you have to offer in your own respective locality. And one local mayor actually did. And the next time I saw him, he said, Carol, I actually opened it. And I said, I tested him, what is the website? And he gave me the right website. And so I said, and what did you find out? He said, I compared the prices. And to me, that is actually thinking, and that is reform. Because you have a change of heart. Instead of being used to the usual, you are actually moving towards something different, which is kind of scary, right? But when you move into and there's a transition to that, you're actually changing your mindset to welcome, better and bigger changes. And with that, I think the region is up for the challenge, Angge, so that we can probably link procurement to the bigger PFM, framework in about 2 years' time when we convene again ANSA 2014. And hopefully GANS will have another, recap of what's going on in their own respective countries. Thank you.